Welcome, everyone. Today's topic is a virtual live property tour in Old Town, deal or no deal. So we're going to quickly analyze the property. I'm going to walk you through the steps that you must follow to successfully analyze a deal, just to make sure that it makes sense and that you should move forward with it. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know, even before you take a look at the property, is the neighborhood. Okay, you need to understand what the neighborhood is all about, and most importantly, you need to know what exit strategy you're going to take on your property. So you only have three options. You can either wholesale, fix and flip, or buy and hold. Those are the only three exit strategies that you have. So the key question that you need to ask yourself before looking at the property itself is whether or not the subject property is going to be able to successfully be a great deal, whether the property, the area supports the exit strategy. So for instance, let's assume that this property is in Old Town. So we need to understand what Old Town is all about. Is this a flipping market? What type of market is this? I know it's a great area, but let's just confirm. So the first thing that you need to do is come to ChicagoDealVault and then look for, let me see, old. I'm just gonna put old and see what comes up. Okay. North Center, Old Town, North Center, okay, near North Side. Hey, Mark, would you say which would be the closest neighborhood to Old Town? It'll be Lincoln Park, right? Lincoln Park would be the closest, and then Gold Coast. So it's in between Lincoln Park and Gold Coast. So actually, let me type in Gold Coast, Lincoln Park. Okay, so these neighborhoods in downtown are going to be are known primarily for supporting flips. Okay, so let me just show you Lincoln Park. Okay, so let me just open up the report for Lincoln Park. Right here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down because this is going to give you a lot of details about the area. So obviously these are like great areas near downtown where employment is great, amenities, everything is amazing. The only problem is that it's too expensive, right? So what I want to find out is whether this is a rental market or a flipping market. So let me just scroll down, and right here we're going to give you the conclusion. So we recommend this is a flipping market, and then I'm going to tell you why. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to give you the key indicator that it supports, this neighborhood supports flips. Okay, so it's called months of housing supply. Okay, so it's 229. So what it means, this is a great indicator that you must understand. What it means is that assuming there are no new properties that are coming in the market for sale, it's going to take a little bit over 2 months before all the properties for sale run out. So that means properties are selling super fast in these neighborhoods. Okay, so if you're thinking about doing a flip on this property, it just makes perfect sense. Now, the next question is, so now we understand the market. Rents are going to be super high as well in this neighborhood. So if you scroll down 2000, it goes crazy, for the rents in these neighborhoods. But we're not going to do buy and hold. Flips is what makes sense in these areas. Now, the reason why buy and hold may not make sense on these areas is because when you buy a condo, you have to pay HOA or association. So typically in these high rises, it is quite expensive. So that's where your cash flow is going to go. Okay. So for the most part, these properties do not cash flow. They're not the best for buy and hold. These are great for flips. Okay. So now the next thing that we need to do is take a look at the property. So this is a property that is offered by a wholesaler. Let's take a look at the property inside. Okay, he's asking for 139. Okay, so let's take a look. So as you can see, the view is just incredible, right? It's just facing Lincoln Park, and then but it needs a lot of work. I think flooring, walls, and then now if you think about this is a studio. Okay, they're asking 139. This is a studio. So in the studio, you don't have a separate room, so it's all open space. So guess what? This is supposed to be the bedroom, and right here where you see the empty wall is where the kitchen is supposed to go. So the kitchen is supposed to go here. So technically we do not have a kitchen. So now let's walk over here. So obviously this property needs repairs. Okay, so right here, this is the bathroom. Okay, so the bathroom is quite spacious. Okay, so that is just the bathroom. So it's a very, very tiny studio. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So this is the bathroom. That's about it. So that's the door to the here. And then this is like a closet for storage. So it's super, super, super tiny. So what I want to show you is how to analyze this deal, right? So the wholesaler is asking for 139 for this property. So the question is, how much is it worth? How much am I going to put into that? And will I be able to do a successful flip on the property? Okay. So what I did is, let me quickly show you. I did a power search in ChicagoDealVault for the address. So it's 1660 North LaSalle. Okay. And then two listings came up. Okay. One is active for sale, but this does not apply. This is like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's listed for 269. Obviously, this building, this high rise, has all the bells and whistles. Okay. So it's quite nice. Okay. But this is a 2-bedroom. Okay, so it's so beautiful, 369. And then here it came up with with a probate, but it doesn't have enough information about the property. So what I did is I just want to know the difference in price between a 2-bedroom, a 1-bedroom, and a studio. Typically, let me tell you, when you are downtown, Golden Coast, all these great neighborhoods near downtown, the difference between a studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom is huge. It's about 100,000. Okay, so I was able to quickly check that out. I did a search on this high rise, right? And then right here, I have a 1-bedroom. So the 1-bedroom is going for 236, 275, 275. So average, I would say, is like 275. The 2-bedroom at 100,000, 360, 369, right? So what does that tell you? There are no studios for sale. So a studio is going to be somewhere in the 175, okay? Now, mind you, if you were to buy this property, they're selling it for 139, okay? ARV is going to be no more than 175. So as we've seen before in some formulas, I'm gonna give you how you can compute the max allowed offer. So in this particular case, a studio is going to be worth no more than 175,000. So you have to multiply these times 70%, okay? that factors in 20% that is going to be your net profit on the flip, and 10% is going to be for carrying costs, holding expenses. So right now I'm 122. Now the next question is, how much am I going to spend in rehab on this condo? Now, when you're in great neighborhoods, A neighborhoods, guess what? Your scope of work, the quality of the rehab needs to be extremely high. Otherwise, you will not sell it for top dollars. Okay, so typically in B, C neighborhoods, we multiply the square footage times 2 or 2.5. But in these kind of neighborhoods, you're going to multiply these times 3, like $30, 35 at least. So let's assume that the square footage on this property is about 600 square feet, okay? Multiply 600 times 3. So it's going to easily be between 20 to 30,000 just to add the kitchen, finish up the flooring, and then clean up the bathroom. So easily, just the kitchen itself, right? Because the finishes that you need to add will have to be top notch. So the rehab on this is going to be no less than 20,000, okay? 20 to 30,000 easily. So if we were to subtract, let's say to be conservative, 20,000, okay? The most we should pay for this property is 102. The wholesaler is asking for 139. Does that make sense? So it doesn't make sense. It's too expensive, okay? And not only that, you need to keep in mind association. So if I was just to click in one of these listings, I want to check what the HOA is going to be. High rises are quite high. So right here, 539. So $500 for HOA, okay? So that is why when you buy and hold condos, it's just very hard to cash flow in the city because property prices are so high. On top of that, HOA is super high. So that doesn't leave enough room for cash flow. So in this case, the analysis that we did, that's how you're supposed to do it within minutes, okay? You understand the area, these supports flips, and then you need to understand the pricing points for a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, and then for a studio. So obviously this is overpriced and it's a no deal, okay? Now, even if it had already a kitchen, it would still be overpriced. 175, that it's roughly the ARV, times, let's assume that it was all rehab, that we didn't need to put much, maybe 5,000. So it'll be 122 minus 5,000. Okay, so the most you should pay for this property, if it was rehab, would be like 117 up to 120, right? Between 115 to 120 if it was rehab. If it had a kitchen, if it had the the wall, the flooring already finished. So I just wanted to show you how quickly you should be able to analyze deals. Because this property, as we've seen in the tour, requires quite a lot of work. Okay, even though it's a small space, the finishes are going to be top notch. Okay, so it's missing the entire kitchen. So that is why the rehab on this is going to be no less than 20,000. Okay, because you're going to need to put like quartz instead of granite. Quartz, you're going to need to put backsplash, stainless steel appliances. You've got to go like really, really high if you want to sell these for top dollars on a flip. So the question is this a deal? No, this is not a deal. Absolutely not. And so you have to be very cautious when you're looking at condos. That is why we tend to not get into condos. I'm going to tell you something that happened to us, a story that happened to us. In Lakeview, we bought a condo, but check this out. So when we bought the property, we checked in the MLS and we saw it was an 8-flat building, 8 units. 2 of them listed for rent on the MLS. So I figured we could rent the property, right? So we ended up buying the condo, right, for like 320. It was a great deal. And then We got it. Then we did a light rehab. Maybe we put in less than 10,000, and then we tried to rent the condo. Guess what? Association right away said, Hugo, you can't rent the condo. I said, that's impossible. First of all, on the MLS, I see that the unit below and the unit farther below got rented like last year. Second of all, when we did the closing, we reviewed the bylaws and nowhere does it say that rentals are not allowed. And they said, well, Hugo, the bad news is that unfortunately we forgot to include an addendum to the bylaws where it states that rentals are not allowed. And the two units that you saw that were got rented via the MLS last year, they were grandfathered because they've been rentals for over 10 years. So new purchases are not allowed to have renters. I was like, whoa. So what we had to do is we just put it back on the market. We tried to sell it like for 350, right? But guess what? It was in Lakeview. So Lakeview, it's a little bit north of this area. It's also a very nice area. So guess what? People expect top rehabs. So we couldn't sell it. So we had to put in like 35,000 more on the rehab. And then after that, we could sell it for like we sold it for 410. So we did make a profit, but it was just a painful experience. And so that's something for you to keep in mind. That is why I wanted to do a virtual tour and a webinar on condos because they are too risky. Associations may change the rules on you. So today you might be able to rent the property. Guess what? Tomorrow you may not. Not only that, but associations have rental caps. So they might have, typically it's like 40% renters. So out of, let's say, 10 units, 4 are allowed to rent. First comes, first serves, okay? So the first 4 units that get rented, that's it, no more rentals. So you have to be very careful about these. Not only that, you always need to look at HOA, HOA or association fees. Um, why? Because typically they vary. They could, for the most part, go up. And not only that, but guess what? If there's a big project in the building, let's say they need to replace maybe the lift, the elevator, or they need to do some big construction job in the building, guess what? They will assess, they will have it's what's called the special assessment. So they're going to split the cost of the project among all the units. Okay, so that is why getting into condos it is extremely risky. And for the most part, let me tell you, condos do not appreciate in value as much as single family homes, duplex, townhomes, 2 to 4 flats. Okay, so condos are the ones that appreciate the least. Out of all the real estate types, condos appreciate the least. Okay, and not only that, another drawback that you have in condos, especially in these type of neighborhoods, should you decide, let's say, to do a rental, is that you're going to have a lot of turnover. So people, especially with the studios, they're coming in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So you don't have stability, right? So you can end up with vacancies. So it is super, super unstable when it comes to cash flow. Okay, keep that in mind for condos in nice neighborhoods. Okay, so in my opinion, there are a lot of drawbacks to condos. So a lot of people, they just want to start off small and they invest in condos. Be very, very careful because it could backfire. Okay, there are many, many neighborhoods where you can buy a single family home for a great price, even cheaper than a condo, right? So single family homes are more desirable, right? Because families can move in, they're going to be more stable. Tenants are going to be paying for pretty much all the utilities, including water, outside maintenance, landscape, snow removal. So it's just a better investment overall. But you know, we never talk about condos, right? So it is very important to understand what condos are all about. Okay, it's just like a roller coaster. And not only that, but guess what? When it comes to, let's say, selling the property, typically in high rises, you're going to have a lot of competition. Okay, uh, so they're going to sit on the market for a little bit longer. And what happens in when you put a condo for sale, like in these type of high rises, if you don't price it right, guess what? Other condos are going to use your condo to sell theirs. So it's a very, very tricky scenario when you want to get into condos in high rises, especially in these type of A neighborhoods. Are there any questions on the line? Now that we're covering condos. Okay, so there are many comments. City, Marina, Marina City, near North Side. Oh, okay, near North Side or Lincoln Park, exactly. That's where we are. What are the comps? So the comps, for instance, we can look at the comps. I was just, before we joined the webinar, I took this listing and then I went to comps. So I selected, there are no studios in as comps. So all of them are one bedrooms. You see, all of them are one bedrooms. And I also one bedrooms, two bedrooms. I couldn't find any studios in this neighborhood. But just look at the price range for a one bedroom. It goes from 208 all the way to, it just gets crazy, right? Close to 400,000, depending obviously on the condition of the condo. But in this particular tower, in this particular building, two bedrooms are selling for 360 or so, and one bedrooms are selling for 100,000 less, so 260, 275. So this particular studio is not going to sell for more than 175. Okay, so in fact, if I go to the rental calculator, whoa, the HOA for this particular, well, this is a two bedroom, is 800. Okay, and as you can see, the rents are not that high compared to the price. Because remember, take the 1% rule of thumb. If you pay 369, what's 1% of that? It's 3,600, right? That's how much you need to collect in rent. Well, guess what? You're only collecting 2,000. So it will not cash flow. You're going to lose money. And guess what? HOA is like putting money in the waste basket. That's money that you cannot deduct. It's not tax deductible. It's not depreciable. So it's just money lost. When you pay interest on your mortgage, that's tax deductible. When you do projects in the properties, those are depreciable. So, but HOA, it's just a sunk cost. Okay. Um, so that is why I'm not so keen on condos. We tend to stay away from condos. Okay. But instead, you should look into multi-unit, right? Either single family home or multi-unit where you have 2 to 4, right? Where you own the entire building. That does make sense, okay? But just owning one piece, one condo for rentals, it's just very hard, right? And then, are there any other questions on the line? Okay. Oh, okay. So, Valerie, what do you mean that other owners will use your condo to sell theirs? Great question. So, for instance, that's exactly what I used to sell our condo in Lakeview. Let me see if I can pull it up. It's 610 West Surf. Okay, so what I mean by that is that the condo below was um, so we sold unit this is unit 4A. Okay, so this is the subject property. This is how much we paid for, let me see if we can see. Yeah, no, the pictures are not showing up. Well, we bought it for three 340. We put in like 35,000 into it, and then we sold it for 410. But what I want to show you is, for instance, there are some condos like this one. It was selling for 450. Okay, these have all the bells and whistles. So when I price our condo for a lot less, let me see if we can see pictures. No, they're not showing any pictures. So when these people are selling theirs for 450, even though it has all the bells and whistles, when I price ours for 410, it's a huge difference. So in other words, when they see 450, 410, and the rehab, it's sort of comparable, except less bells and whistles. We're going to be using their listing to sell ours. So people are going to get the perception that theirs is overpriced and ours is just a great deal. And in fact, once we put it on the market, we got full price offers, two of them, like in within a week. So that's what I mean by that, Valerie. Now, another question. When you comp a condo, do you only stay within the building? Yes, so it depends. Like, for instance, this building that I was just showing you, this is an 8-unit building. So here you can comp within the building, but ideally you also find other condos. Um, in the neighborhood within a 1 mile radius. But if it's like a huge high rise, the likelihood is that you might find many comps within the same building. But if you don't, that's okay, right? The key is that within a 1 mile radius, the property that you're comparing with is apples to apples, right? So it's a studio or a 1 bedroom, similar condition, meaning rehab. So you just need to compare apples to apples. If you don't have enough comps within the building, then you can also look at other properties in the neighborhood. Are there any other questions? So let's just quickly summarize what we talked about today. If you're thinking about getting into condos, be very cautious, right? Because of the HOA. And then not only that, appreciation on this type of assets is very, very little. So they don't, over time, your net worth is going to increase very little. They don't appreciate much in value. They're not as desirable as single family homes. If you buy and hold, you're going to have a lot of turnover. Your cash flow may not be there. And the problem is that you're dependent on the association. They can change the rules, the bylaws anytime, right? They can give you a special assessment, right, for a new project, and then your cash flow is just going to drop even more. Um, so those are the main drawbacks of condos. But people do flips in the city. They typically don't, investors, they don't buy and hold condos, okay? They just do flips. They just want to be in and out. In this case, we did an analysis on this property. It's overpriced. The wholesaler is asking for 139. There's no way. The most we can pay is like about 100,000 because of all the work that it needs. And keep in mind, the rehab on these type of neighborhoods is going to be not $20 a square feet. It's going to be $35, $40 a square feet because the finishes are going to need to be excellent, super, super high quality. Okay. So overall, condos we like to stay away from because of the experience that I mentioned to you earlier, and all the drawbacks, right? It's just too risky to get into condos. And flipping right now with COVID, it is even riskier. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how quickly you can analyze a deal. So to summarize, even before you look at the property from the inside, make sure that you understand the neighborhood first. The neighborhood needs to support your exit strategy. If you're going to do a flip, does the neighborhood support the flip or the rental? What type of neighborhood am I in? That's the first question, and that's where most investors make a mistake. That they buy in neighborhoods where are for rentals and they want to do flips, or vice versa. So they start with the wrong foot. So you've got to start with the right foot. And second of all, location, 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 right? Before you even start looking inside the property, look at the location. Make sure that it's nowhere near like cemeteries, rivers, train tracks, airports, things that are going to affect the property value. And then finally, you obviously go inside the property, get a scope of work, but this is a lot of work for this place. Even though it's small, it's going to be no less than 20, 25,000. So therefore, it's way overpriced. It's a no deal. Okay, are there any other questions? So here, yes. Also, lately there are many condos deconversions to apartments to meet current demand. Yeah, absolutely. There have been a lot of deconversions, and the reason why is because rental market is so strong right now. Especially after COVID, the lending requirements have tightened. So they're asking people for like 725 scores, at least 20% down. So what's happening is that people still need a place to live, but if they can't afford to buy, guess what? They're gonna rent. So rental market is still very strong. Rents are still going up. That is why it makes more sense to deconvert that condo into a property that is just going to become rental. Okay, instead of flipping it, it just makes sense the deconversion. But that typically happens in smaller buildings. Okay, like for instance, this one you cannot deconvert in a high rise. So we're talking of way smaller condos, like residential 2 to 4 flat, where they deconvert into rentals. So, but it's because of it. They can make a lot more money with rental income when they deconvert. Okay. Um, are there any other questions on the line that I can help you answer? Okay, so I hope you learned a lot today, and if you still don't have access to DealVault, please get it for free. So we're gonna give it to you for free for the next 30 days. Here you have access to all the off-market deals, tool analysis. So that's the link to get it for free. The package should be special ChicagoDealVault, and then the promo code should be tour. Okay, and then please make sure that you RSVP to our bootcamp. Okay, so our bootcamp is coming up. We have 2 bootcamps. One of them is in Spanish and the other one is in English. So the one in English is at 1 p.m. at the end of the month. So please make sure that you RSVP. And then the Spanish, I'm gonna put it right here. Okay, it's gonna be in the morning, 9 a.m. Okay, so everything, speakers, everything, hosts, everything is gonna be in Spanish. And then on Sunday, we're gonna be talking about, it's gonna be a great event. We're gonna be talking about the money game, everything that has to do with getting funding for deals. Okay, so how you're gonna recycle the money, where it's going to be a really cool event on Sunday, this Sunday, learning the money game. Okay, so please make sure that you RSVP for Sunday, and then for sure for the bootcamp that we're running at the end of the month. Either the early version is going to be in Spanish or the afternoon in English. And then if you have any further questions, I'm going to remain on the line to help you with answer any questions. Now another question. Okay, so Mark, would I be better off to sell my condo downtown? So that's a great question. So Mark is asking, should I sell my condo downtown? So let me tell you, and this applies to everyone. Wealthy, successful real estate investors don't sell properties. They refinance, okay? And the reason why is because if you were to sell your condo, guess what's going to happen next? That's going to trigger a tax event. You're going to be taxed on the gains, unless you do a 1031 exchange, and in the next 3 to 6 months, reinvest that money into another property. But why would you need to do that? Instead, you need to refinance. If you have a lot of equity into the property, just refinance. So what that means is that the bank is going to look at the equity. They're going to say, okay, you have a lot of equity. You need to have at least 20, 30% equity still on the property, and you can cash out on the remaining 70%. So it's going to be like a huge credit card, if it's almost free and clear, that you can tap into without selling the property. Does that make sense? And not only that, the best thing is that if you have it rented, guess who's going to pay for that loan? The tenant is going to pay for it. Does that make sense? So pretty much you're getting like free money. So yeah, please do not sell. Refinance, especially that right now interest rates are historically low. So you're going to be able to get, oh my goodness, on a refi, maybe in the 3/4s, depending on your profile, your credit. But yeah, refinance right now is the way to go to tap into equity in your property. So please don't sell it, because then you're forced to pay to the IRS. Okay, unless you do a 1031 exchange, but then you have the pressure, right, to find another property, and then you rush into buying another property. Otherwise, you get penalized for the IRS. You don't need any of that. So remember, successful and wealthy people in real estate never ever sell real estate. They refinance, okay, and they get tenants to pay for that loan. And that's how they get to pay for their children's college, their children's wedding. They just tap into the equity of the property, and they have the tenants continue to pay for it. Does that make sense? So it's like free money. So yeah, please, Mark, consider refinancing instead of selling. Perfect. Um, are there any other questions on the line? So yeah, please make sure that if you don't have access to DealVault, get it today for free. We are going to train you as many times as you need, one-on-one, okay, on anything like identifying hot markets, accessing great deals, analyzing deals in seconds, wholesaling, fix and flip, buy and hold. So we're gonna train you one-on-one when you become a member. Just try it for free. You don't lose anything. Um, so if no further questions, I'm going to stay on the line for the next few minutes to assist anybody. Please RSVP for Sunday and the next upcoming boot camps, Spanish and English.